Lily Tomlin, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Rover. I'm good. I'm very good.
It's early out there where you are. It's 7:30 in the morning.
But, it's sort of a refreshing change.
Are you used I mean, when you work on movies, do they make you get up that early in the morning?
Way earlier.
Yeah, really? Oh.
Then you got to go to makeup and hair, and you get up like 5 o'clock, or maybe get ready to start shooting at 8.
People always are so enamored with films and movie stars. They go, I'd love to be an actress, but it seems like kind of a grind. It seems like it could. Yeah, there's a lot of downtime.
Then you got to get up and do radio and stuff like that.
That's the worst part of the day, right?
These guys in the other part of the country who you don't know where the kind of music they play is like crazy. It's like people in the asylum.
What is it? So tell me
I
about
love that music. That kind of really is up my alley.
Well, the music that we played that you heard.
People don't hear it.
Yeah, no, because that's just we're on different radio stations. So in our home studio here, we just play that as background music while the individual stations play commercials or whatever.
But you should be running that sometimes. Like when you sign off, I would throw that music right on there.
Lily, that music, I've heard that. Let's see, we take 2 commercial breaks an hour. We do 4.5 hours a day. So I've been hearing that song 10 times a day, every day for the past 12 years or whatever. It's literally driving me crazy.
But the folks haven't heard it that often.
No, if they did, they'd never tune to the radio show again. So tell me about this show that you're doing on March 3rd. Is this a one-woman show? Is this comedy? Explain it to me.
Well, it's usually billed as an evening of classic Lily Tomlin, and it's really I've always been character-based, so even in stand-up I would do monologues and character pieces, and but I like it to be sort of like broken field stride. I don't want you to know where I'm going to go next, and I'll try to talk about your hometown and where I'm at and having fun, and talk about the world and what it's like to live on the planet, and then show some of the inhabitants. And I use sometimes I use video more to humiliate myself than anything, or embarrass myself, or ridicule myself, and then I use some video to expand the character, or to interact with the film, and it's what I think my audience likes to see, what I think they get a kick out of.
I was reading about Lily because she was coming on, and I'm 38, Lily. So I was born in 1975, and I've only known you, seriously, as an actress. You see her in a million different movies. That's what I associate you as. But that's not how you started. You actually
you probably are like terribly intimidated right now then.
Well, you started in comedy, right?
Yes, of course.
And what led you from that? Was it just a natural progression from the comedy into acting, or how did that come about?
Well, most actors, when I was doing a season of Damages a couple of years ago, and Marty Short, we were doing a kind of Bernie Madoff theme, and I was the matriarch of the family, and Marty Short was our family lawyer, and he was a bit crooked too, and we used to just to amuse Glenn Close, who was a star. I'd say the first scene we did, she was deposing us, and and I said to Marty, let's do this next one. This next take is Ernestine and Ed Grimley, and because those are all really strong, over-the-top characters that we used to do. And just to make Glenn laugh, So then I'd hear Marty, people always ask people who were started in character or comedy, about playing drama. And of course, Marty was wonderful in that, and he got nominated, as did I. But I'd hear him say the same thing. It's all just acting. It's all just performance. It's all just acting. And you do on the continuum. Sometimes it's broader or stronger or bigger, and sometimes it's very small and subtle. And depending on the quality of the script and the tone of the script or the show, you just dial it down, or you're just playing what's on the page.
Did you take any formal acting lessons when you wanted to move from comedy? I mean, I know you did some comedy.
No, I did. In
really?
fact, I used to do, when I was a kid, and I would put on shows on the back porch and try to sell tickets to the neighbors. I would do like kind of little I did anything that interested me. If I thought it was really funny or it was kind of moving or it was totally absurd, or because I lived in an old apartment house and there were so many different kinds of people, and I grew up in a black neighborhood predominantly, so I knew a lot of black people, I knew a lot of Jews, I knew a lot of Catholics, Gentiles. I knew so many different kinds of people, all different kinds of churches. I'd see people with a lot of money, people with no money. I was so immersed in this humanity, and I saw them all, no matter what their pretensions were or what they thought they were or what they thought they could be or what they thought they could pull off. They were all basically, I'd see them at the saddest moments, at the most jubilant moments. I'd see them tragic. I'd see them mean. I'd see them so kind and benevolent. And I mean, they were all so much the same that I only saw that common thread amongst all of them.
You were born, Lily Tomlin, you were born in Detroit, Michigan, but you moved to Kentucky at a young age, right?
Well, no, my mother and dad are from Kentucky, and I used to go to Kentucky every summer. In fact, I mean, Kentucky kind of claims me, but I'm not from Kentucky, but I certainly spent a lot of my life in. I left that out. Aside from inner city Detroit, every summer I was in rural Kentucky, so that was another whole culture.
And that probably helped you to draw off of those experiences. I wouldn't
trade it for anything. I used to lament that at that time in this country, I didn't know any Latinas or Latinos. I didn't know any Asian people. They just weren't that prevalent in the neighborhood. They hadn't immigrated to this country to that degree, or they stayed in their own kind of neighborhood, and I just wasn't privy to it. So I used to. I regretted that I didn't know those cultures very well.
What did your parents do when you were a kid?
My dad was a factory worker, and my mom was a nurse's aide. They came up from Kentucky when my brother and I were born.
You probably did not have, you didn't have a lot of money when you were a kid, I'm assuming.
Well, my father ran no, I wish. That's another part that I never got. I always wanted to know somebody, heavy into crime, but if I did know, I didn't know it. They came. No, we did. We were just working class, but we didn't know. Kids don't think that. They don't. I mean, even though I saw people with huge houses, because in those days, a neighborhood in a city like Detroit, much like a lot of the larger cities in the Midwest, back in the 40s and 50s, when I was a kid, the neighborhoods were more, homogeneous. They weren't. You saw a few blocks from my house lived kids whose fathers were doctors or lawyers or whatever, and they had much more materially. But I saw many people who had less. In fact, I used to just cringe in grade school because when the teacher, after Christmas, the teacher would ask the kids, you were supposed to, I guess a lazy teacher would have kids stand up and tell what they got for Christmas. And you knew some kids were lying.
And just because they were poor and it was
they didn't, because other kids would stand up and say, "Oh, we went to, we went skiing in Utah," or whatever they said, and I got new pajamas and I got a new winter coat and I got this, I got the latest toys, whatever they would describe. And you were lucky, maybe you got, I don't know, some small toy of some sort. Maybe you did get pajamas. Anyway, you couldn't stand up and say how little you got.
Right.
Compared to what other kids were saying.
Did you, now I know you married your partner, who you'd been with for a long time, a woman.
Jane Wagner.
But did you ever have, either of you ever have kids of your own?
No, we didn't.
Did you ever want to? In hindsight.
I'll tell you, I must have been so immersed. That's probably why I invented Edith Ann, because to have a surrogate kid. Because those characters always seem very real to me. In fact, we made a puppet of Edith Ann once some years ago, and a complicated puppet that took 3 people to run her. She was sort of what do you call it?
Animatronic or whatever.
Yeah. And she blew a raspberry and everything. She was really wonderful. I had this puppet maker. He was crazy about Edith, and he wanted to build a puppet. And because I always wanted to get a kids show of Edith's.
Uh-huh.
Which never happened. But the first day I came in to see them work Edith, she was sitting in a rocking chair that they'd built for her, and she looked so alive. It was just, and so she had such a wonderment about her expression, because she was kind of sitting in the rocker, kind of looking upward, and it was just breathtaking because she looked like a real kid, and they had fashioned her to look like Edith, so she looked a little bit like me.
But you never,
I never yearned to have a child. In fact, I've told this story before about Johnny Carson. Years ago in the 70s, I was on Carson, and Johnny said to me, "You don't have any kids. You're not married. You don't have any kids, do you?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Don't you want to have any kids?" And in the 70s, this was very iffy for a female in public life to say she didn't want to have children.
Mm-hmm.
And the audience goes just like sucks in. They got, like, you could hear a pin drop. And I said, "No, if you mean do I want to biologically bear children, I don't. I don't have any desire to. If I did, it would be great, but I'm not driven to do it." And I said, "I really love kids. I enjoy them, and I wish I could spend more time with kids," mostly to steal material, I suppose. But I said, so then I turned to him and I said, "By the way, who has custody of yours?" So that stopped it.
Did you? Lily Tomlin is on with us. She'll be at the Ohio Theater at Playhouse Square doing her show on Saturday, March 9th at 7:30 p.m. But sort of staying in that same vein of questions. Are you amazed now? You're talking about the 70s and the 80s. I don't know when you met Jane, what year that was. But
I met Jane in 71.
Oh wow! So I mean, for a long time ago.
We'll be together 43 years soon. And the first thing we did was Edith Ann's album, because she had written a thing on television called JT that appeared in 1969, and I saw it just by accident. And it was so wonderful. She won a Peabody. It was the first thing she'd ever written for, as a play. She wanted to be a songwriter, really. And so she got so much notice from that. And I saw it a year and a half later in a rerun. And it was so wonderful about this kid. And it was so tender but so satiric and so poetical. I can't even tell you how wonderful it was to me to see this child depicted this way. And so I had my Edith Ann album was due in like a couple of months, so I wrote her and asked her if she would help me with Edith. And I never heard from her. And then about 3 days, and that should have told me something. 3 days before I had to tape the album, she sent me a bunch of material, all notated in the margins, and I've been typing her stuff ever since.
Did you guys have to, or did you hide the relationship just because at that time you could be ostracized? In Hollywood?
It wasn't. We didn't hide so much as Jane doesn't even enjoy the spotlight, so that was one consideration of mine. But no, in those days, I think most people in the industry knew that we were in a long relationship, and people just didn't write about it that much. If they had any regard for you at all, I think. And plus, it just wasn't done. I mean, if we had lived in the tabloid times, I know telling what would have happened.
Yeah, TMZ would have been chasing Lily and Jane around back in the day.
We had to take a tree down here in our neighborhood, in our own property.
Uh-huh.
And one of our neighbors is like kind of fanatical, and I learned later that he was a lawyer who had been disbarred for fraud. But didn't matter. We were on TMZ about 6 times, and they said I had dendrophobia. He told them that I had dendrophobia, which is
a phobia of trees,
fear of falling trees, or fear of trees. It was just a scream, I'll tell you.
Do you now, Lily? In this, you have video that you play in your show and different characters, and you show stuff from films and things like that, which made me wonder: do you acknowledge the videos that were leaked on the internet a few years ago when you were working on that David O. Russell
with
film?
David?
Yeah.
I thought about running it. I thought, I could run it. I thought about doing a big piece on it in the beginning when it first hit, but I never did really. But I would get a kick out of it if somebody found something interesting to do with it.
Is that a normal look? So someone released that video and it became viral. But do those sort of blow-ups happen in creative environments when you're on a film? And was it really that bad? Did you not get along with the guy, or is this just sort of normal things when you're in a high pressure?
No, I don't think it's normal. It kind of depends on who the director is, and David is. I mean, I'm sure he's. He suffered greatly from that video. I didn't suffer as much because I'm an actor, but he's a director and he's a male, and he had a reputation anyway for being volatile. He had, and this is all well known. This is no secret. I'd done another movie with David too. I'd done Flirting with Disaster, which is hilarious, in which Ben Stiller and Téa Leoni and Patricia Arquette were the young cast, and Mary Tyler Moore and George Segal and me and Alan Alda were like the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was about if you haven't seen it, you will. It is really funny. It's only David's second movie, but all those people did that movie with him because he had done Spanking the Monkey as his student film. He's brilliant. He's outstandingly wonderful as an artist.
So then you have that big blow up on a set of.
We did, but that isn't it for us personally. It didn't mean anything.
Really? So
the video didn't even surface for 4 years.
If David O. Russell were to come to you and say, Lily, would you be in one of my movies? Because he's done all this other stuff. I think he did Silverline.
We're still very friendly.
Would you work for him again?
Yeah, I wouldn't even think twice about it because it's just David.
Right.
And I have a temper too if I get pushed a little. And it was a very crazy movie anyway. And so we were all just in a huge cast. Wahlberg is in it, and Jude Law, and Dustin, and me, and Waits, and so many people. I don't even think, and I don't think we thought anything about it. But see, somebody, because he also did Three Kings, and he punched Clooney. He and Clooney got into a fist fight at one point. David's very different now because he paid a big price for that.
Did you think someone on the crew? So that was obviously taped. Do you think someone had
video? We had what you call video assist. Which is whatever's being filmed is run through into a TV monitor, and so somebody had that film anyway. And David was very. He was like, it's sort of like he takes on the character of the movie, and Huckabees was so crazy. And you didn't see half of it because we filmed all kinds of improv scenes and dances and wild stuff. And it was, I remember Dustin likened David to Jackson Pollock and just throwing paint at the screen, He'd just start. And it was just...
I love the part, if no one's ever seen this, and then we'll move on, but I love the part where, Lily Tomlin is yelling at David O. Russell, having a huge argument, and Dustin Hoffman's sitting right next to her in this car, and she turns to him and goes, "Oh, you shut the F up, too!"
Dustin Hoffman just, everybody.
Doesn't say a word. He's just...
to my limit that day. Nobody could hear David running around the car screaming at me because he wasn't mic'd. And I'm sitting right there with the camera right in my face. Anyway, it's what you bring this up, Rover, but how it happened, how I first learned of it is like 4 years later, when YouTube really started to get, a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing an interview like this with the Miami newspaper, and the guy says, "What do you think of the Huckabees video?" And I said, "I don't know. What is it?" I'd long ago forgotten about it anyway. I knew that it had made the rounds of the agencies and stuff in L.A. It becomes like a little thing secret thing that but nobody expected it to surface publicly.
Does Lily, before I let you go, you're I believe you're now, is it 74 years old? I know you're not supposed to ask a woman.
Yes, Rover. And how old are you again?
38. I'm 38.
No, I heard that. I
know.
But
you know what maybe I'm just weird. I'm 38, and sometimes I'll go to bed at night. I live by myself. I'll go to bed, and you're laying there. It's in the dark. And
do we want to hear this?
I do that too, but but I start thinking to myself, wow. I mean, I'm probably roughly halfway through my life. The older you get, do you get Is there any fear of dying or death or anything like that?
I not. Let me think how to answer that. I mean, you're no different at 74 than you were at 38 in many, 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 many ways. In fact, you can hardly realize that you're not 38 still.
Yeah.
No, I think you just know it's inevitable. So you've come to, if not embrace it, to accept it, and that you might not live forever. You still don't even know. There's a little. You just don't know quite. And you think, well, who knows?
Who knows, baby?
Right.
Well,
so no, you just go on living. What can you do, Rover? You're just a human.
Lily has left quite the legacy in film and other work, and I mean, just a very, very long career. And I'm guessing that this show that you're putting on is going to be great. It's Saturday, March 9th, 7:30 p.m. It's at the Ohio Theater at Playhouse Square, and I'll give people the number to purchase tickets. You can get tickets by calling 216-241-6000. That's 216-241-6000. And Lily, I'm glad that you came on the show. She's had an interesting life. I've read all about her. She's had a very interesting life, and if half of that comes out in her show that she's going to do. It will be a blockbuster. It will be great. It will be very good.
Okay, Robert. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Lily Tomlin.
All right, carry on.
Thank you.
Call me when you're 74.
Hey, you're not into younger guys? We could get something up.
Well,
actually, she's not into guys at all.
Earlier, you never know.
I say, yeah. I just thought of it. I go, she's not into guys at all. What? I'm stupid me. But
well, you don't really know the facts.
Hey, you know what? In this day and age, you never know. We had a long discussion earlier, a guy from Tennessee, because like I said, Lily, we're on different stations, and we were talking about that thing in Arizona where they have this religious freedom bill that would allow you to discriminate against homosexuals and stuff. And we were talking about this on the air, and a guy from Kentucky called, and he goes, it's a choice. I happen to believe that you're just born gay, and that's the way that it is. But, things have certainly changed over the past 20, 30 years. I mean, it's unbelievable, and but still, some people are against the lifestyle. What are you going to do? I guess
there are people against a lot of things. They can hardly find if you really want to investigate and explore all the points of view. There's almost nothing that everyone would agree on.
Did you know from the time that you were a little girl? Did you always know?
I think I was just sexually precocious.
Yeah.
In fact, you'll hear me talk about it in my act.
Well, go see that at
no,
Ohio
I'm not
Theater.
I'm not trying to lure people in with some. But the fact that you had the balls to ask me a question, I thought.
Well, Lily,
but I did as a I don't know where I got onto it. I just was hip to. Like we had an old medical, home medical counselor that many families had in those days, with plastic overlays. It describes diseases. I thought for a long time I might have leprosy because it had a gestation period of 14 or 11 years, I think. But they had, and I'm sure you never know, you might have contacted it at any point. And so then I had plastic overlays that showed the skeleton, the viscera and muscles and everything else, and then the skin and the genitals and of a male and a female and so on. And I was very onto the fact that adults had sex, although I didn't quite know what that was. But when we go visit somebody at their home, first thing I do is not that we visited people that had a lot of books, they didn't necessarily, but very often they would have a marriage manual. Back in those days, and I went right for it from the time I was pretty young.
I remember I can remember clearly laying in bed one night, and I was 4, maybe 5 years old, and there was a girl down the street who I thought was pretty cute. And I knew what girl parts were, and I knew what I had. And I can remember thinking at the age of 4 or 5, I wonder if I put that there, what would happen. And I swear, I mean, I'd never heard of sex or whatever. I thought I invented the thing for like a year or two. I mean,
well, you know, don't say anything. That's what I say in my act almost. That very statement. I thought I had invented a new game.
Have you ever been with any men in your entire life? Did you try?
You're getting way too. I'm not going to tell this kind of stuff.
Oh, come on.
Why should I? I haven't laid eyes on you, Rover.
Well, when you're in town, let's.
Who knows what you're doing right this very minute?
Yeah, I'm fantasizing about Lily. Listen, have a good time when you do the show when you're out here, and good luck with that. And I really appreciate you coming on the show, Lily.
Okay, well, I've had fun talking to you, Rover. You're like very interesting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you're just you're really just getting started.
I'm very cute too. You should really check out my website. Lily,
when I was 38, I was really cute too.
Oh yeah,
but I held on to it.
Lily, again, thank you for coming on, and go see her show,
Okay,
Ohio
all
Theater.
the best to you, Rover, and to everyone out there.
Thank you very much, Lily Tomlin. Wow, how cool! Who knew she was going to be that cool, right?
I know.